Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I wanted to go over a bunch of items you need to find if you want to run a melee build in Remnant 2, because these will come in handy no matter what archetype you're running or no matter what melee weapon you prefer. So keep that in mind. First and foremost, make sure you go see Dwell. He sells a bunch of the mutators, which are going to have a massive effect on your melee weapons as far as some of the different perks they run. So definitely go check them out. Also, if you find any of these mutators out in the world, that's also nice, but you can get them just from buying them from Dwell as long as you have the materials to do so. So that's great because they are going to work across all of your various melee weapons. And regardless of what melee weapon you prefer, all the rest of these items are going to come in handy. I know not every melee builds in general are just not going to be viable across every piece of content. They are viable across every difficulty though. If you build it right, if you make a melee build, you can take it in any piece of content. And overall, for me, I like running them because they are a lot of fun, and that is the reason that I play this game. I want to have a blast. So jumping into somebody's game, playing with my friends, and just running around melee and everything is absolutely hilarious to me. So that's why I will always recommend doing so if you enjoy that style of play. So jumping into the actual items that we are searching for. First off, the Matriarch's Insignia increases melee damage by 35% and causes all successful melee attacks to restore 10 stamina. This is just fantastic. The best amulet for melee builds in the game, in my personal opinion. The melee damage 35% is absolutely massive, and yeah, the increased stamina is huge, especially if you're running heavier armor sets. So that's what I prefer to do. I just want to be a walking tank that melees everything, and so this one comes in handy quite a bit. It can be found on Yesha. It is something of a random find from what I've seen. I found it in a location that seemed random, but if you have somewhere that you know that it drops from, let me know in the comments down below, because if this is more consistent, I would love to tell people how to get that for sure. Next up, we have the Fey Bruiser Ring. This is a random find on Losum. Defeating or dealing melee damage, you don't have to defeat targets, but just dealing damage grants 2 stacks of Bulwark for 7 seconds, does not stack with itself. That is absolutely huge. Having Bulwark up all the time while you're dealing melee damage will be very, very helpful, because tanking things is necessary if you want to be a melee build. So Fey Bruiser Ring, definitely recommend chasing that. Same thing with the Fey Warrior Ring. Increases melee damage by 15%. That is a flat buff, which is always nice because it's not contingent upon you performing an action or doing anything in order to trigger that. So that's why I like it. It's always going to be active while you're just swinging away. You don't have to stop and shoot your weapon or anything like that. This is also a random find on Losum, so definitely when you are in that area, definitely go searching for these rings, because they will help you out quite a bit if you are wanting to make a melee build. Next up, we have the Haymaker's Ring. Increase melee damage by 0.2% for every 1 point of armor encumbrance. As you can see here, I'm running a super heavy armor set, the Leto Mark II, and that is going to allow me to dish an awesome amount of damage more out with the Haymaker's Ring than I would have otherwise. And I can just kind of walk up to enemies and just slam into them, so it's absolutely hilarious. And yeah, overall, I like the combination of being able to just take a lot of damage and do a lot of damage at the same time. So that's why I like the Haymaker's Ring. This is found on Ashen Wasteland in the Root Earth. There are guides out there for that, and then also for the Dying Ember, so definitely check that out and search for those, because these, if you're in the Ashen Wasteland of Root Earth, you can find both of these, and they will just make your melee builds 10 times better. So next up, we have the Dying Ember. Like I said, gain 5% of base melee damage dealt as lifesteal. This is huge because you're going to be dishing out a bunch of damage. Obviously, the higher amount of damage you do, the more lifesteal you're going to get. And having a way to heal yourself as you're in there is absolutely important. You can run something like the Medic or the Alchemist to drop heals on you consistently to make sure you stay alive. To use something like Barkskin, you can run Challenger if you want for the extra bulwark. But overall, having a way to make this viable regardless of archetype is necessary. So having like the Dying Ember is really, really massive, and something I would definitely recommend chasing, because in my opinion, this is my favorite of all the rings for melee builds. Next up, we have the Berserker's Crest. This one is, again, very, very nice, but it is probably the bottom of the of the 5 that I've showed you. Increases melee charge speed by 20% and reduces melee stamina cost by 25%. Again, this can come in handy quite a bit, especially if you are running low on stamina, but it just depends on the type of build you're running, how much stamina you're using, and if you're using the charge mechanic consistently compared to the regular melee. This one can be found in the secret coffin activity in the Yesha dungeons, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Essentially, I made a video on this previously. There's an open dungeon or open coffin you can jump into in order to go snag this, and I would definitely chase that down as well. All 5 of these are very awesome, and I would just try to get whatever ones are going to fit your personal playstyle and your build. That's one thing I would like to emphasize with Remnant 2 players in general is just play your style, play your way. You don't need meta builds in order to beat the majority of content. Yes, it's going to come in handy against like the final boss when you're on Apocalypse tier and that kind of stuff. But we're starting to see, even with that, people start to be more expressive with their builds. There's more options now as people uncover different mixes and matches. And if you enjoy a melee build, if you want to run it for like the 90% of the game that you can actually run a melee build, highly recommend chasing all of these items down, having fun with them, testing them out, seeing what works for you, and going from there. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Remnant 2 content from me going forward. This is the style of video I am really enjoying making right now because it doesn't make a specific build that you need to chase, but instead allows you to kind of have an idea on what's out there and what you can kind of mix and match to make your own builds, because I feel like everyone having their own twist on things is better than just having one single build that works for everybody. So anyway, my name is Jopa. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.